The major challenge is using the traditional model that we have inherited, we'll say, from the West, where you produce from one location and then you distribute. If you think in the way in which telecommunications has evolved, we started with the traditional model where we use the fixed, wired and all of that for telephony. But now you will see that Africa has leapfrogged using mobile. And so in the same way, if we are able to change or innovate the way in which energy is distributed, perhaps we will move more. So what we need to do is just to disrupt the current model and use completely something different. So for me, it's to forget, if possible, the traditional method. I think two ways, but majorly research and development. In the energy space, what we have lacked is to be able to bring down to affordable levels what the ordinary poor person, rural person will be able to afford. If you think about the evolution of the computer systems, we need to go that same route. When I was in primary school, a mainframe computer had 5 MB of RAM. I mean, that was big in those days. Today, a smartphone has how many gigabytes? So it's for us to think from this perspective. If we're able to change two things. One, the panels that we use to attract the sun and absorb it. If per square meter we're able to absorb 100 times, 500 times what we used to absorb today, which is exactly the same way in which we have been able to store information with the computer systems. That's one. And I think the European countries can do R&D in this space to be able to advance technology in this direction. That's going to help significantly. The second one is around batteries. In Africa, usually we don't just use the energy directly, but we also store so that we can use it overnight. And so if the battery technology can also be advanced very well. Today we are moving into the lithium one, and the lithium one could do about 5 years. Imagine if we can have batteries that can last for 20 years. That's going to radically change everything. And so the combination of the two will change the way, the dynamics, the efficiency, and everything that surrounds energy provision in Africa. I can be biased. I probably can say Nigeria for one reason. Nigeria, it's about 20-25% of sub-Saharan Africa in terms of population. So that would be a big market opportunity. And we see this from the telecommunications point of view. The second way I could say maybe Kenya, primarily because of the development of the value-added services on mobile technology. Because one interesting thing about people in the rural settings or that they use very small quantities of electricity is the payment system. So how do you collect very small amount of money, the infrastructure to be able to connect that? All that is adding, to the cost of delivery. But with the mobile payment system, that makes it so easy. And today, in at least 5 or 6 countries, there is a company called Luminos. They are working with MTN, which is one of the biggest ones across the continent, and they're able to collect money on pay-as-you-go basis. And so, again, it's about evolving a different model. And so I will say Nigeria, I will say Kenya, but I'm sure South Africa will also come into the line. The first for me will be around policies. Most African governments will need to change their policies. Again, it's around mindset, but we have to be very innovative in allowing private sector to be able to come in and do what they know how to do best. The same way most countries today are struggling with internet-based transactions. I see if solar powers, alternate energies become more acceptable, then policies will have to change as to who can come in, how they can operate, and so on and so forth. So that's one aspect. But beyond that, we then need to look at the entire value chain, starting from production up until payment system. Luckily for us, we have the infrastructure at the payment system level because of the mobile payments. And that is usually the most difficult, especially when you're moving to hinterlands, you're going to the rural areas. That is the most difficult. And because we have been able to conquer that end, then it makes the other ones a lot easier. So if they are able to solve the problems of policy, production and distribution becomes a lot easier.